Hello and welcome to Checkpoint Radio. My name is James.
I'm Ben.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Charlie.
And coming up today, we're talking about new game trailers, developers who are asking you to torrent their games, and fantasising about the franchises we'd love to reboot, so let's get right into it. So I'm glad to be back. I had a nice little holiday, had a nice little break. I'm feeling good. But, you know, there's something about this podcast, something about talking about games that gives me a lift. So I'm trying to bring some real Friday energy to the show today as we dig into some of the weird and wonderful things that have been going on in the industry. Before that, gents, episode 5, how are we all doing?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, very good as well.
How was your holiday?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice. Well, to be fair, like there were some annoying aspects of it because we got to France, and obviously France are like, the French people are hot on their strikes, and they were striking the day we sort of arrived.
Oh no!
So there were like no trams, no trains. We're sort of at the airport. We had to shell out for a taxi, but it was good though. Other than that, it was really, really cool. We went to Monaco, went to a really cool aquarium, and like whenever I go to like an aquarium or like a zoo or anything, I always get shocked when I see the animals because I know what these animals look like. I've seen them before a million times, but then you see like an octopus in real life, and you think, that thing don't look like it comes from this fucking planet. That looks weird.
Yeah.
It looks so strange. And then I saw these like massive sea turtles, which obviously they're huge, but then you see them in real life, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that's big. And yeah, it was just really cool. It's a nice chilled weekend. We ate lots of nice food. We had an apartment like in the centre of Nice Old Town, which was good for like exploring and walking around. And yeah, the weather was good. It was really, really busy there. I think we got there sort of at the beginning of like the new sort of holiday season.
I see.
So nice and busy. It was buzzing. You know, the beaches had a lot of people walking around, and yeah, it was good. So
very nice.
Yeah, enjoyed it, but glad to be back as well. Back on this podcast. What about you guys? You been up to anything?
Half term for me and my child, so lots of family time, which has been great. The weather's been better recently, so we've been trying to make the most of getting outdoors. Went bowling, arcades, had a little cheeky Nando's.
God.
So
all
yeah,
that good outdoor stuff.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, that's about it really. Other than playing some other games, but yeah. So, how about Charlie and Connor?
Yeah, I've just been working mainly, and then I had Wednesday off, and I went to see John Wick 4.
Which was
very good.
Yeah, it was really good. It's like the perfect film to see in the cinema.
Yeah,
there's this sequence
big high octane action.
Yeah, it just knows what it is. It's not trying to be pretentious. It knows it's an action film. It takes the piss when it needs to. It takes the piss out of itself when it needs to. But there's a sequence in it where it's a drone shot, but it looks isometric. And John Wick's running around with like a shotgun and like a
bit like a Hotline Miami.
It looks exactly like Hotline Miami. And he's got like explosive rounds.
But awesome, that sounds really cool.
Like a 3 to 5 minute sequence. It's incredible. It
sounds sick.
Yeah,
that
it's
sounds
really
awesome.
worth watching. Really, really good. So yeah, it's
Very
been
cool.
my week. Charlie?
Nice. Nothing exciting really for me. Bit of a slow week. Training a new guy at work. That's all done. So it's been all right. He's all good now.
Yeah.
Other than that, no exciting stories this week from me. So.
Any new games? Any old games?
Yes, actually, Connor and I have been back on Rainbow Six Siege, and I worked it out. I've not played that game for 4 years.
Oh my God, time flies.
Yeah.
What was it like going back to it?
Very alien at first. I feel like a lot has changed, but I kind of got back into the groove, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'll be playing a lot more of that.
It took me a while to get used to the pacing because it feels so slow compared to a lot of the shooters I play.
See, I thought it felt rapid. I don't know whether that's just because I've only really been playing Valheim. Other than that,
might be, yeah.
But yeah, I thought
I'm like comparing it to like
the
Apex.
sensory overload kind of like, well, it's all so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about fast, I tried the X-Defiant beta, which is like a COD wannabe from Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's like a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
It's got all their sort of characters from all their franchises in it, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. So it's got like what are they called? Not the cleansers. What's the people in the Division called?
The cleansers, the cleaners.
The cleaners, yeah.
The
cleaners. You've got like the Splinter Cell sort of agents.
Yeah,
You've got like they've just got like
has it got the Wildlands crew in it?
I think so, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'd
it's
be
not
surprised
really
if it didn't.
Yeah, it's not like completely linked. It's just kind of referencing all their material. But I thought
looked
it was
alright,
okay.
though. Like I've watched some videos of it on YouTube, and a lot of people that have played it have said like the gunplay's like tight. It feels quite good, and
Yeah,
maybe it's got some legs. I don't know.
yeah, I feel like it's definitely trying to target that kind of like rapid, like absolute adrenaline
Fast time to
junkie
kill, Call of
audience.
Duty style.
Yeah, entirely. It's just taken everything that people would want from playing Shipment on Call of Duty and just putting all of that into one game. So it's just rapid, quick time to kill. It's just nuts. But I thought it was okay. Another game I want to mention real quick that I was playing. It's
Valorant?
No, so a game called Steel Hunters, made by the gaming company Wargaming, who are famous for World of Warships, World of Warplanes, World of Tanks, their most famous one. But it's like a mech-orientated version where you're in teams of 2 against 5 other teams of 2. And it's kind of a weird mix between like a battle royale and a team deathmatch, but it's very light on the battle royale. It's not like you have to go out and loot guns. You kind of go out and power up, so you have to go and kill the other enemies or lots of these bots that are around the map. You slowly level up until this like big final fight, and then the last one to extract or the last team alive wins. Very short. It's about maybe like 8 to 10 minutes per match, but the combat's great. The graphics, it's all in Unreal Engine, so it looks phenomenal, runs really well. I found myself completely hooked. Like, I was hoping to play lots of The Witcher this weekend, and I was just playing this all weekend.
You're never going to play that game.
You've been trying to complete this game for like 7 years, man. Or you just give it up. Just give it up.
I'm going to do it.
You're lying
I'm really
to yourself.
enjoying it this time.
That's the sad thing about it.
Well, I just wanted to
assuming
quickly mention. Oh, sorry, Charlie. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, is that free to play, that game, Ben?
It will be when it comes out, but it's still currently in alpha. So even though it really felt like a beta in regards to like how finished the game felt, it definitely didn't feel like an alpha. It was completely under NDA and everything. But it didn't. It really felt like a beta. No lag, excellent performance, loads of features. So I don't know how far off development they are, if they're still calling that an alpha, but it was very good. Highly recommend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
What were you going to say, James? Sorry?
I was going to say I completed Hogwarts Legacy this week. Just wanted to say that I was very impressed with the game. I thought it was really good. Won't go on about it too much, but Ben and I actually recorded a like review video for our YouTube channel. So if you don't subscribe to it yet, Checkpoint Radio, look us up there, and you can check out that video soon. Should we get into the news then?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So another week brings another wave of news for us to look at, but I think we're going to start with a couple of new game trailers we got for some high-profile games coming up. I think we'll start with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a game that I am very hyped for. Very, very hyped for, actually. I'll underline that. The first game was fantastic. It's the final gameplay trailer. The game releases on the 28th of April, so was that week after next now? Well, it'll be next week when this podcast comes out, so that's nice. Thoughts? Everyone watched the trailer. What do we think then? Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I think it looks great from the trailer.
Yeah.
Like,
it looks
graphically
really
impressive.
Good.
Like, the combat looks
Did you
good.
play the first one, Charlie?
No, I haven't yet. I bought it. I've got it in my Steam library. I just haven't.
I recommend it.
Haven't got
Perfect
around
time
to
to
it
play
yet.
it. It's a really good game, the first one. The first one was like, it was kind of strange because when I think back to the time of that game coming out, I don't seem to remember much being made of it. I don't mean like it didn't leave an impact, but I mean like I didn't really see it being promoted. People weren't really talking about it, but it was not much hype about it, but it was a really, really good game. And I went into it with like low expectations and not really expecting anything from it. Ended up having a really enjoyable sort of like 12 to 15 hours on the game.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like some of the best Star Wars content we've got in recent years, period. Like films, TVs, all of it. It's a really, really great Star Wars story.
Yeah, I agree. And I came from it from like a different angle. So I was very late to Star Wars Fallen Order. And I knew that the game was like very well reviewed. I was coming in from an angle of like, okay, I am really hyped to play this after this long. I can't wait to have this experience. And it sort of hit every mark perfectly. I thought something that kind of gets lost in this modern age of gaming is like just a really good short linear story.
Yeah, like a tight
And
story.
Yeah, like I don't need every game to be a massive open world like a Red Dead. I love Red Dead, but if every single game was that big and that expansive, or like a live service model where you literally, I like a nice, short, very good linear story that's memorable.
You can complete it all, and it gives you that feeling of
I've
satisfaction. You know, you've accomplished something.
Plus, we're all Star Wars fans, and to live in that universe and to see different angles is like the main reason I love The Mandalorian is just fleshing out more of the Star Wars,
the wider story
world, the stuff you don't see, or so.
Well, in terms of what we saw in the trailer itself, I mean, the one thing that stood out for me in this final gameplay trailer was it felt really cinematic. So I'm glad they kind of built upon those foundations they laid out in the first game. There's a really cool bit in the trailer where Cal's like kind of fighting with this stormtrooper, and he sort of flips him up into an oncoming TIE fighter, and it just looks
when they're on
awesome.
the speeder bikes.
Yeah. It just looks epic.
I was going to mention that. It looked so good.
Looks
I'm
really,
hoping
really
that's
cool.
something you can actually do in the game, and it's not just like cutscene,
like a pre sort of done set piece. Yeah. Well, I know that there's in this sequel, it's not fully open world, but there are much larger explorable planets compared to the first game, where everything was sort of linear, took you down a corridor, and maybe you had some little bits off to the side that you could explore for chests and collectibles or whatever. But this game seems to have like much more of like you can go off and explore each planet type thing, and they've added the ability to tame local beasts and use them as mounts. So that maybe alludes to how big some of these explorable areas are.
And so, like for you, Charlie, seeing that second trailer or this trailer for this current game, are you going to go back and play the first game? Because I feel like you kind of have to, really.
Yeah, I think I will.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think wasn't that long ago you guys were talking about it, and that's what made me go, right, I need to buy this and play
it's
it.
It's always on sale. You can get.
I think I did. I think I picked it up quite
day.
cheap. It might have been. I might have done like G2A or something like that. But
you can do it in a weekend as well. As like Ben said, it's not 40, 50 hours. But yeah, I think the way I describe the trailer is it's more of the same, but in a good way.
Built on what they've done.
They've not just chucked in a million new features and sort of messed with the formula. It looks
there are a couple of new things I'm really excited to see. Is that's the lightsaber stances, like the fighting styles. Yeah. So I think there's 5 new fighting styles depending on which type of lightsaber you're using. They range from using like a crossguard saber, you know, like what's his name, Kylo Ren. He's got like the sword with the hilt on it.
Yeah.
Using a lightsaber like that, which is much heavier and slower, to then using like a blaster and blade combo, so you can switch between using a blaster for longer range enemies, like to engage with longer range enemies,
cool.
And then using a saber, like a shorter saber that's like for close combat. And I think that kind of variation being added to the game is going to change like so many things about it in a positive way, because the combat was already really good in the first game. You sort of, you know, as you progress through the game, you get like the sort of staff saber that occasionally splits into 2 sabers when you do a specific sort of combo or whatever. So I'm really glad they built on that, because I thought the developers laid out like a really solid kind of foundation for the combat, and it's good to see that they've evolved it for this sequel.
Well, that's it. And as well, the fans are asking about, so this character, what's his name again?
Cal Kestis.
Cal, obviously he's learned and developed and evolved throughout the first game. So people were questioning, like, in the second game, are we, in like a gaming sense, are we going to have to kind of relearn this stuff? Because obviously you need to progress and
that makes no
stuff.
sense narratively. That does it? It doesn't make any sense.
Got hit on the head by a rock. I forgot everything.
Yeah, he's forgotten everything. You have to go back to square one again. But yeah, the devs have said like, this is a linear story. Like everything he's learned up until this point that you would learn in the first game, you'll have in the second game, pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like, this is a continuation. So,
One thing I noticed from the trailer is like some of the combat seems like there was almost like hand-to-hand elements. Was that within the first game? Can you like punch and kick people, or?
I think it might be part of a combo.
Like maybe it's part of a combo chain. I can't quite remember. It's been a little while since I've played the game personally.
Some of the more scripted finishes, like say if an enemy's on very low health and the game takes over very minutely to like finish them off, like the same way The Witcher does with like the slow-mo finishes when you cut them in half. It's scripted, but it's still part of your input, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
So he probably gives them a swift uppercut as part of that scripted fight.
clip on YouTube earlier. Some guy was talking about the game. EA took him out to LA to play it. And he can't say too much about it, but he said he's impressed. But he said there's a lot more like customization options into it. It's not just ponchos.
I saw a picture of like a customization screen, and Cal Kestis had a big old ginger beard.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to seeing how he can customize the look of the character.
He showed like a clip of Cal,
bushy beard,
Cal with a mullet, and like a Hulk and mustache.
Oh, mate.
And you can customize BD as well, so they're adding a lot more customization into it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's probably one of the well, I wouldn't say it's a criticism. I mean, you can't really criticize the first game because it's such a great sort of effort for, the first game in the new sort of series for Star Wars. And I liked the little bits of customization you could do, but I remember thinking when I was playing the first game, I want there to be more things, like more colours, more clothes, more sort of armour, more jackets, more everything.
There's jackets,
more ship sort of decals and stuff.
Trousers, I think ponchos are back as well. But to say you pick up a jacket, you can change the colour of it to whatever colour's in the wheel.
Okay.
So then it does feel like it's your own sort of personal Cal. It's not just, I found this poncho, but 400 people have also got that same combination of whatever it is. So.
But yeah, I enjoyed the customization, but there was a part of me that was like, what's the point in changing the colour?
Yeah, it was a bit lacking, wasn't it? It was a little bit lacking. Yeah. Well, just to round up the rest of the trailer and the other stuff that we saw, obviously we mentioned you can tame local beasts. There's like a sort of friendly hub zone that's going to apparently evolve and change over time as you sort of go through the galaxy, liberate more sort of colonies and help people, and NPCs will appear there. I'm guessing there'll be different types of merchants and things like that.
Cool.
More diverse enemies, more allies. And it just seems like they're going sort of bigger and better. And there's these things called Jedi meditation chamber trials, which are also, they're like little dungeons. And I'm guessing you can go in there and unlock skill points for completing them or rare collectibles or whatever. So it seems like there's a lot more added to this game that's going to sort of extend the kind of playtime in it, but also make it more interesting for people that want to explore and sort of go off the beaten path a little bit. Well, I'm looking forward to playing the game when it eventually comes out on the 28th. But as for new game trailers, we've had another trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, bit controversial. Ben and Charlie, not really into the Nintendo thing. I don't think any of you, or either of you, have played Zelda before. Is that right? I mean,
I've never played a Zelda game, and pretty much never seen a Zelda game.
Yeah, I played Breath of the Wild for like 5 to 10 minutes on someone else's Switch at the time. But yeah, I'll let you and Connor in a second talk about it. But yeah, just my personal opinion, I'm not big on Zelda and stuff. So I understand that this game creates a lot of hype, but as soon as I see it crop up in the news, it's just a quick scroll past for me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the trailer specifically is as with sort of many Zelda games that I've sort of experienced over the years, I didn't really know what was going on in the trailer, but I liked what I saw. So that's good. I'm a huge fan of Zelda, obviously, as you guys know. Ocarina of Time was probably the game that got me into gaming in a real sort of big way. And I also loved Majora's Mask and the last Zelda game I played, which was Wind Waker. So it's been a long time since I really played a Zelda game before Breath of the Wild come out. And I do think Breath of the Wild is an absolutely fantastic game. And I know you're probably not going to play it, Ben and Charlie, but I do encourage you, if you ever get the chance or the time to play Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure Tears of the Kingdom will be the same, to sit down and play these games, because we often talk about on this show, and we talk about amongst ourselves, like off air, what makes a really good open world game. Breath of the Wild has all the ingredients of a fantastically created and crafted open world game. It's not something that should be ignored, because it's right up there with Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher, all these great open world games, Elden Ring of the past sort of few years, and it's a really, really good game. But as for the trailer itself, it's set, the story for the game is set sometime after Breath of the Wild. Link gains some new abilities, and one really interesting ability, or two I should say, Fuse and Ultra Hand, which basically allows you to craft or fuse any object with any other object to create anything you want in the open world. Wow. So in the open world, you can use... Oh, mate, don't get me started on Banjo-Kazooie. Like, that's another game that I absolutely love. Anyway, so Ultra Hand, like, you can do things like attach like wheels to a piece of wood and then sit on it and put like a sail on it to make yourself like a makeshift vehicle to get around the land.
Oh, that sounds
You can
really
create
cool.
carts for carrying stuff. When it comes to weapons, you can put like a sword on the end of a stick to extend its reach. You can attach a smoke bomb to your shield that triggers when an enemy hits your shield and you block it. So all these crazy sort of things. And like I really feel like it's such an ingenious way of like developing this open world and sort of you know, kind of expanding on the gameplay, which is already pretty solid in Breath of the Wild. As for, you know, the story in the game itself and the open world, Hyrule appears to be largely the same, but there's all these kind of floating islands above it, which is where you start the game, and you can get back down onto sort of proper ground, but you need to unlock like abilities and sort of progress through the story to do so. But yeah, Connor, I know you've played Breath of the Wild. What are you kind of thinking about Tears of the Kingdom? Are you interested?
Yeah, I think the same with Star Wars. It's more of the same, but in the best way possible. They've expanded on what works so well with the Breath of the Wild. That was my first Zelda game I played by myself. I played Wind Waker back in the day around a friend's house, and I liked what I saw, but I didn't have a Nintendo, so I had no way to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Breath of the Wild's fantastic. It doesn't hold your hand. It just lets you go out. You can go this way, you can go that way. You'll learn some stuff on the way. The combat system's great. Yeah, it's more of the same. That's what I think Nintendo needs right now. I think there's rumours of a second Switch coming out. And I do look at Zelda and I'm thinking, how does that run on my Switch a little bit? But
it's not the most powerful sort of games console. And I think Zelda's like the biggest Switch game now that's ever been created, but it's not even that big. Like, I'm not even going to guess how big it is, but it's like, it's less than 10 gig, but it's like the biggest sort of Switch game ever.
I don't know how they optimize it for it, but it's a testament to Nintendo, to be honest. I was going to
say that I do really like the art style from what I've seen from the trailer, and because
music's incredible.
I did kind of think, obviously, the Switch isn't the most powerful console. How good would the graphics be? But I do think it looks really good in the art style that they have.
I suppose it's one of those things where if you know exactly the hardware you're working with, I suppose that gives you ultimate ability to
optimization,
optimize that. Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up, just is more of like a sort of final point for you guys that haven't played it. When you look at Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, it's got like a really sort of fun, sort of cartoony art style. But I'll just say that it's not really. Well, obviously, it's a game that kids can play, but it's a very mature game in terms of its game design. Yeah. And like when I say this is like a great open world game, this is what I mean. Like, it's very, like Connor mentioned, that it doesn't hold your hand when you're playing the game.
It throws you out into the world.
Exactly. You literally just start the game and then that's it. Like you're sort of naked, alone, afraid, and then you're encouraged to go out and do stuff and find stuff. Kind of like Elden Ring, when you start the game, you're sort of on your own. You don't really know where you're going or what you're doing. And I just really feel like the game design of Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure Tears of the Kingdom will be the same. Just two fantastic games. So Tears of the Kingdom, that comes out. Oh, sorry, Connor, have you got something you want to add?
One gripe: whoever's voicing Zelda does not feel right. That was my only gripe with that trailer.
Okay.
Have they changed it then? Is it not?
I don't know. I don't know at all, but it doesn't feel like she sounds like she's in a different recording booth to the rest of them.
Okay.
Right. Well, we look forward to hearing more of that when Zelda Tears of the Kingdom releases on the 12th of May on the Nintendo Switch. So moving on then, Dark and Darker developers. This is a wild story. Ben, take it away.
So it's a fascinating case that raises the ethical question of who exactly owns an idea. So Dark and Darker is an extraction-based multiplayer fantasy game that was briefly one of the top early access games on Steam. So imagine it's almost like a battle royale set within a dungeon, and there's a closing ring and you need to battle your way through AI as well as other players, and then you'll keep descending into the dungeon and facing new foes and new enemies and so on and so on. And
medieval Tarkov is how I've heard it explained.
Yeah, it literally is like a medieval Tarkov. Got loads of excitement and everything. But this is where the drama starts. So a few years ago, Korean studio Nexon was working on a variety of prototypes, which it codenamed certain games and projects like P1, P2, P3, and so on and so on. Dark and Darker was called P3, but Nexon didn't like the idea and decided to make another project. And the devs who brought the idea to the table about this P3, which was Darker and Darker, decided to leave the studio, make their own studio called Iron Mace, and make this P3 project that Nexon didn't want to make, calling it Dark and Darker. So Nexon are accusing the devs of stealing the assets and stealing the idea and like saying that we own this. And that's where the whole drama comes in. It's like, well, they decided to bin this idea. They said they were never going to make this game. So the devs who wanted to make it left to go ahead and make it. And now Nexon are claiming that they can't do that because they own it, or they something along like they own the idea, so you can't make this idea, which I don't know, it's a tough one when it comes to copyright, because like if it was only an idea and it was never actually a project like in the works, then whose idea is it? The people who came up with the idea, brought the idea to the table and then got turned down, then left to make their own game and it be that same idea. So that's where it all comes in. The CEO of Iron Mace turned around and said that their code was built from scratch and their assets were purchased from the Unreal Marketplace. So saying that there was
that's what I was going to say. There's like a bit of a twist in this, isn't there? Because they're defending themselves by saying the assets you're accusing us of stealing, we have bought them from the Unreal Engine Marketplace.
That's it.
So go fuck yourself.
Yeah, the code that we've written is built from scratch. That's literally a quote from what he said. And they've apparently had it audited by an outside agency. They do admit that the game is very similar to P3. Obviously, they were the devs who brought P3 to the table to Nexon, and they were the ones who pitched it, designed it, and built it. Nexon threw it in the bin. So Steam...
So they took it out of the bin and took it with them.
To make it. So that's where this all gets a bit up in the air, because...
Yeah,
it's like, who wins this? Who knows? Steam, who want to stay completely out of this, have taken it off their marketplace until it's all been settled, which I feel like is a correct move. Steam just don't want to get involved. And the next crazy thing is the Iron Mace devs, who can't obviously distribute their game anyway. They are encouraging people to play their newest alpha beta via torrent download. So... if you want to play it, it's currently available.
So if you want to play it, you have to download LimeWire.
Yeah,
like it's old school. In 2007.
Distributing it through their Discord, which you'll easily be able to find.
Yeah. So,
well, apparently the game was quite popular during the playtest it's had like recently when it was up on Steam and people were able to play it. Yeah, apparently the game was getting like quite a lot of hype and people were saying it was pretty good.
Well, this is like the 5th playtest, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Something
I
like
think
that.
so.
I think it's had quite a few.
They had a playtest through Steam, do like an annual event, which is like showing like upcoming releases, and they do a lot of demos and betas and stuff like that. And then that's when they first released it, and I think they had like over 100,000 downloads or something along those lines. It did really well. And then obviously Nexon saw it was doing well, and they was like, "Yeah, that's our fucking game.
We want a piece of that pie." Even though,
if you fucking binned it though, if you said no, this isn't good enough for us, and now you're getting all upset because they actually decided to develop the idea further that you didn't like. Now you're saying, "Well, that's our idea. You can't do that."
It's
it's like a real grey area with like who actually owns
the
idea. Idea, because I guess technically you could say that Nexon still own it because it was published under their it was developed under their roof, and they decided that they didn't want to continue with it. So then, is it down to the employee to take the game to another company and carry on making it?
Like, how different does it have to be before it's not?
Well, that's another argument because they used ChatGPT to define the genre of game, which was very strange. But their point was that the genre of game is so broad that every game of a certain genre is copying and nicking ideas. Like
of course it is.
Someone would use an example of like, well, if I make a medieval game, does that mean I'm ripping off every other medieval game and that sort of genre or that theme or that whatever is copywritten now? Because
There's a big point around the fact that you've got to use torchlight, like a flaming torch, to see your way around.
Yeah, but I've been
that
doing
was
that
one
on
of
The
their
Witcher.
big points. But yeah, that's
to
it.
do that in Oblivion,
doing that in Valheim,
Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah. So
Call
it's
of
a
Duty,
tough one.
Yeah.
Call of Duty straight stole Tarkov and PUBG. No one says a word.
Yeah, I mean that's a very similar kind of story, isn't it? PUBG, yeah.
It's
crazy.
But I think it's because they've paid those people to make that game, and obviously they've gone, no, we're not making that game anyway.
Yeah.
And now they can see it's going to make money because Nexon are known for making a game, making it pay to win, and then when it drops off numbers wise, or they've got the next project, they'll just take the server down.
Yeah, and I don't know if it makes it even more. I don't know who has to approve this. Obviously, it's a Korean studio, and is it Korean officials that need to approve this? Is it more of a global thing, like a Microsoft Activision sort of judgment?
Well, Nixon asked for a police investigation to be kind of brought against them.
There was a police raid of Iron Mace Studios.
They've filed a case in the US because the guy who owns or is the head developer at Iron Mace is based in the US, and they've court documents on the 14th of this month, and Nexon have named a YouTuber in this case. So he could potentially be going to court because he's covered it beforehand. Or such very, very strange. So I think it could potentially happen in US soil.
Yeah. Anyway,
interesting.
Who knows how it's going to turn out?
Yeah, that's one to definitely keep an eye on. And we love a bit of drama in the industry. You know, I love sort of seeing these things develop. But yeah, any change on that, I'm sure we'll cover it as and when. But moving on to the final sort of news piece we're going to cover. I feel like we've been mentioning this game every episode for the past God knows how long. But finally, the suspected delay for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been confirmed by the studio. Rocksteady announced on social media that the game was being delayed to the 2nd of February 2024.
Madness.
Thoughts? 9 months.
So I thought, obviously, where we were seeing an increase in content at that Sony PlayStation
State of Play,
that I was presuming that they were very close to releasing the game. Obviously, the release date is still closing in. Well, the original release date is closing in. So,
the original release date was actually last year because that's when the game was meant to come out.
I suppose. But yeah, crazy. It seems to be the live service and the player reaction is the biggest cause. But how do you... Obviously, they know they've got a ton of work ahead of them. Giving themselves a deadline of February 2024 is an immense amount of time.
Yeah, how much of the game can they change in that time? Because Rocksteady have already said that they're not changing the live service aspect of the game itself. Like, that's a core sort of aspect of the game that won't be removed. So what are they going to be changing in that time?
Because my thought was... sorry, Charlie. I was just going to say... Because for instance... If they do decide to cut out, I know they have said that, but imagine if they do decide to cut out the whole live service model, how would they do that? Like, if it's actually built from the ground up with the live service model being a core part of it, that would be like ripping all your internal organs out and then expecting you to still walk around and be fine.
It'd be a completely new game.
Yeah. It kind of has to be, really.
Because all the assets that would then be in the Battle Pass would then be in, like, these... Well, I don't think they've got loot boxes, but all the assets that would be in the Battle Pass that would be purchasable would then have to be obtainable through playing the game in organic ways, which then means redesigning large portions of the game to make that possible. Do you start, putting, I don't know, dungeons in the game? Do you start putting, like, loot chests that you need to seek out and find to get these items?
I don't think that they're going to make any changes like that. From what I've read, so there's I've got something from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, I think it is. Who's reportedly downplayed speculation that the game's getting a major overhaul within that 9-month period, and he sort of stated that. This is a quote: 9 months is not enough time to completely change the nature of a game. And also that the team was told the delay was for polish and not related to the February gameplay showcase. So to be clear, polish can mean a lot of things, from performance optimization to balance tweaks to bug fixes to server stability. Folks are surprised a dev would take an extra 9 months to polish a game, but that's actually normal these days. That's what he said.
So the heat dies down.
So, yeah. But, so in that, he's saying that these changes aren't related to any backlash from this game showcase.
I think they're doing it just to get away from the hate.
But I don't know if that's going to help them in the long run, because where people are expecting those changes to the live service to come, when it almost makes the expectation when the 9 months does come around even higher, because people are like, you've delayed the game for so much longer now. We're expecting something drastic rather than just fine tuning and tweaks and whatnot.
They're in an impossible place right now because
they
like
really
the
are.
Live service thing. They can't change the live service unless they delay the game by about 2 years, maybe even 3, which they won't do. There's too much money involved.
Yeah. The game's already been in development for 4+ years.
Yeah.
So.
A long time. I had issues with the game. It wasn't anything to do with the live service. I've got no issues with the live service. It was the gunplay that I had issues with.
Yeah.
But
we're not. Go on.
It's just the gaming community. The problem is, it's me and James see it in football all the time. It's player power. Players can get managers sacked and all this all the time. At this moment in time, obviously, you have to believe in consumer rights, but how far does that go down? If now we're holding studios to ransom, you've got to change this. It's like, no, just grow up. Point. If you don't like a live service, don't play it.
That's the thing.
That's exactly it. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
I don't understand it. I really don't get it, because there's this whole kind of element that we've sort of cultivated as a society, where we feel like we're entitled to have what we want whenever we want, and if we don't get what we want, we're allowed to be outraged and to be so fucking like
entitled
just talking down to people, abusing people,
about
and threatening people about a fucking game. Like, seriously, grow up. Like, you can have a dig at like the artistic choices that the studio's made in the game, the combat, the visuals, whatever, because at the end of the day, they are creating a piece of entertainment, a piece of art, and they can make it however the fuck they want to make it. When it comes to the battle pass, they have already stated that there will be no pay to win aspects in the battle pass. It's all cosmetics. Why are you bothered about not being forced to buy something you don't need to play the game? It's not an issue. It's a complete non-issue, and it really bugs me, because this kind of sense of entitlement that we've got, it's if you're a game developer and you've worked on a game for like 4 or 5 years, and then you announce it to the world, and they're hung up on something as like trivial as skins being locked behind a paywall, you don't need those skins. No one's holding a gun to your head and telling you need to buy those skins. You don't need them. Why can't you accept the fact that there will be people out there who will think, do you know what, I like this game, I like that skin, I've got a bit of cash, I'm going to buy it. And if you think, well, I'm not buying a skin, then why does that suddenly mean that the game is trash and not worth your time? It doesn't mean that at all.
No, exactly. It's like Valorant, for instance. Like, obviously, there's absolutely no pay-to-win feature of that, but skins will release in the £60 to £70 bracket for like the whole collection. It's all completely optional. You can be outraged by the price, but if you don't want to buy it, don't buy it.
Well, exactly. That's all it comes down to, is that people act like they're forced to kind of like indulge, or they're forced to engage in this aspect of the game, the live service side of it. No one's forcing you to engage in that. There are plenty of games out there that have live service elements to them that that do really sort of like anti-consumer things, like lock things behind a paywall that are pay to win, like Call of Duty with their latest fucking bundle that they've released onto the store, which has apparently got some pay to win elements in it because it's got some fucking OP gun or whatever locked behind it. I don't know. I don't care. Like, if you don't want to buy the skin, don't buy it. Doesn't matter. Like, you're not bothering anyone. No one cares if you buy it or not. There are people out there that will buy it. They'll enjoy that. They don't care either. Just don't be so fucking outraged by it, because it's not really a problem.
So taking that and imagining that the developers have the exact same perspective, what would you say are the changes apart from polishing? Do you think the combat will change? Obviously, there was a lot of critiques on like all 4 of them performing the same.
If they're changing the gameplay mechanics 9 months out of release. Obviously, you can tweak things and things. There's a lot to do.
Yeah, if you're going to do a whole overhaul, though, you think of all the new bugs and all the new stuff. Like, it's too much for 9 months.
9 months turns into 2 years if that's the route they're going.
I do think that like 9 months is probably like Starfield, for example. Starfield was delayed for a year, pretty much, you know, and but the last word on Starfield was before the delay that the game is playable from start to finish. It's just fucking full of bugs, and oftentimes it does take developers a long time to get the game mechanically sound to the point where it's not sort of immersion breaking to play the game, because you know there's not just you're not sort of driving down the road and then the passenger in the car next to you is literally just T-posing with their head sticking out the roof, Cyberpunk looking at you. So you know it's like it does take a long time to do these things. So you know I'm not gonna sort of sit here and start accusing Rocksteady of like. Well, I'm not accusing them of anything. If they want to delay the game because they want to spend more time polishing it, you fucking do that, mate. Have fun.
So I've got one more question then. What do you think the CEO boys will do? You know, the two guys who are going to be leaving.
They're still leaving, I think. I don't think that changes.
No, but are they leaving now, or are they leaving when this game releases?
I think they're probably going to stick to their original plan, because they've got sort of I can't remember the names. Jamie. Something and Sefton Hill and a couple of the other guys from Rocksteady who are leaving. They've already got plans to start a new studio, so I don't think that changes. I think they're still going to go and do that, because the game as it is, you have to assume, but because it was set for a May 2nd release date, the game, as Starfield was before that delay was announced, is playable start to finish. It's finished. So now it's just, you know, tweaks, making sure everything's tight, making sure the servers work properly, all this other stuff.
So you think they're out the door?
They're probably out the door. Yeah. There's a guy who's just left Microsoft. He works on Halo, but he left in January. But they've only just announced it now. So they haven't even announced it. Someone looked at his LinkedIn, but I think they probably went a while ago. They might even be there like a day a week overseeing things.
Yeah, it's not so they couldn't be consulting for them kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like, just probably right. Probably consulting, because they've got a new studio. They've got a new studio to start. You can't do that overnight.
Okay.
Well, interesting. I'm gutted, because I was really looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and I was still looking forward to it even after that state of play. If anything, I actually wanted to play it more. So I'm a little bit upset that it's going to be delayed till next year, but I'm hoping that fans can just sort of like bite their tongues a little bit and just be just be patient. You know, let the game come out and play it for yourself before you start fucking screaming from the rooftops about how shit Rocksteady is and how much they fell off. Whatever, sharp.
Cringe.
Anyway, let's move on. So we've been going through a trend of rebooting games and franchises over the past years. Well, not just games, but, you know, TVs and movies, they get rebooted and remade all the time. It seems to be the thing to dig up long dead IPs and rework them for new audiences. I mean, we've literally just heard that the Harry Potter franchise is going to be turned into a new TV series. In gaming specifically, we've had the major God of War rework, which saw the entire game get basically redesigned for a new set of sequels. Demon's Souls is another old game. They got a full remake for the PS5. And Perfect Dark is getting a major reboot for the Xbox, as is Fable. So, lads, I thought we'd get creative and talk about games we'd love to reboot. How we'd do it and why we think our game would be a great shout for getting a next-gen remake. Ben, do you want to start?
I shall. So my game is called Black and White 2. It came out in 2005 and is a God game developed by Lionhead Studios and published by Electronic Arts. It's the sequel to 2001's Black and White. The game blends real-time strategy and God game elements. In Black and White 2, the player takes the role of a god who must guide their people to prosperity. The player can choose to be a benevolent god or an evil god, and their actions will have profound impact on the world around them. The player can use their powers to create and destroy, to help and harm, and to shape the world in their own image. The player interacts with the world via a godly hand which is present in the world rather than the traditional cursor. This enables the player to interact with the world in unique ways not seen before. Picking up trees, grain, villagers, boulders, interacting with the sky to change the time, casting signs to summon miracles, rubbing your creature's belly or giving it a smack to praise or punish, and I'll talk about the creatures more in a moment. The goal of the game is to conquer each of the islands. When the game starts, a Greek city is being invaded by a huge Aztec army. You are summoned deep in space by a pure prayer asking for a miracle. You whisk away as many villages as you can, disrupting the Aztecs as best you can, and escape to a remote island with the few villagers you have rescued. The objective now is to build up your village, placing foundations for buildings, assigning villagers certain roles, and expanding your area of influence. Here you can decide how you'll conquer the island and the other factions dotted around the map. Will you create a beautiful town where happiness and peace are your core values, and neighbouring villages will come to you with offerings asking to be accepted into your flock? Or will you build an army, pillaging and trampling through the local villages, taking what you can to keep your soldiers fed as they march their way to victory? Outside of your area of influence, your godly actions are limited, so assisting your men, your soldiers with castings of fire and other deadly spells on the battleground is difficult, but not impossible. Plus, with the help of your creature, things can quickly become epic and titanic. Talking about your creature, you have a creature companion which you will raise, train and command, all thanks to the game's incredible creature AI, even by today's standards. The creature will learn from the player's actions and will eventually become a powerful ally. The creature can be used to fight battles, gather resources and perform other tasks. Imagine the way you train a dog, rewarding actions you wish to see them repeat and punishing them for those you don't. The creature picks up some grain from a field and deposits it in the warehouse. Give their belly a rub or give them some food and they'll repeat this action more frequently. They pick up and throw a boulder, destroying some nearby homes. Punish them and they'll be sure not to do this again. I should mention these creatures will grow to 100+ feet tall, and rival gods may have their own creature, usually trained for war. The creature AI actually won a Guinness Book World Record for the most in-depth video game AI at that time, and I wouldn't be surprised if it still probably holds that title now. It's actually bonkers. Reviews for the game averaged between 8 to 9 out of 10, which was just top tier, and rightfully so. But unfortunately, this game is caught in a legal grey area in regards to ownership and publishing rights. Thus, it's not available to buy or download from anywhere unless you can nab a physical copy, which are quite rare these days. Obviously, there are other ways to get it. However, there could be hope on the horizon, as GOG and their army of legal professionals are currently on the case to settle the dispute and bring it to their ever-expanding library of old, lost, but not forgotten games. I never managed to complete the game. The Japanese were always too crafty with their war efforts. But I plan to play this game again and finally complete it. Maybe if I remake it, obviously, and by other means. How's that?
Wow.
Awesome.
Sounds like a really cool game.
Thank you for that monologue. I loved it.
So that was very long, but hopefully detailed synopsis of everything about Black and White. There's obviously so much that I couldn't write down. But it's such a great game in every respect, and it's such a shame that it's not playable today. So the people who know about Black and White will know how great the game is. The opinion is very widely shared, but it's just a shame that the game's kind of lost, if you know what I mean.
So you'd like to bring this game back from the dead and remake it for a new audience. But what is it about this game specifically that you think is you know, kind of worthy of being brought forward into 2023 for a whole new sort of player base?
I'm glad you asked. This game is truly incredible. It might not be the most exciting. It's not like you're sat there having the best, most insane time of your life, or have the most in-depth story. You are just a god guiding your villagers and conquering the White Island.
Yeah, you're really selling it.
You're just a god. You're just a god.
Just a god.
Yeah, you know, just an average everyday god. But everything that this game attempts to do, it does it so well. So incredible amounts of satisfaction from building your village, moments of awe and mystery when your creature performs actions on its own back. Like, just watching the AI work is actually so mesmerizing.
So can I, sorry, Ben, to interrupt you, but I'm interested in this AI thing, because I feel like this is one of the things that you're kind of like, this is why you want to bring the game out now, re-release it now because of this AI. So what? I don't get, like, what explain what this AI could do. Why was it so advanced for its time?
So it had a really, like, rudimentary, if you were to, like, look at the UI that you can, the game's very UI, not heavy, but opposite. There's very minimal UI, but you can get it up to give you more of an indication on, like, your creature's tendency. Okay. So imagine you've got, like, a roulette wheel, So every 5 minutes, the game is spinning this roulette wheel, and it's going to land on a certain action for this creature to perform. And if it lands on an action that has been praised, it will go ahead and do it. If it lands on this action that has been punished, it will skip it and wait 5 minutes, basically. So that's how like rudimentary it is. But in the game world, it fits so well because it gives your creature this real organic, like, I just thought of an idea and I'm going to go ahead and do it because I got praised, or I've had this random idea. I'm going to go and poo on the field, which is an action it will do, which you might see as a negative action, but it actually fertilizes the field. So you could encourage that, but then it can also be quite toxic to your villagers. So you don't want him to go and shit around everywhere because he might get carried away. And then he might pick it up and eat it. And then you can punish that and you'd be like, never do that again, you idiot. So, but it's a roulette wheel. And so imagine there's like literally hundreds of things that he's been programmed to do. And then depending on how you praise or punish him, that's his likelihood to do it. But
so what does this game, like, going off of that, and more specifically the why you think this is, like, how does it look in for a next gen game given that sort of technology? What way would you develop it to make it sort of appeal to, you know, this modern audience?
To the 2023 audience, So I would use the Unreal Engine undoubtedly. Like, the technology that the Unreal Engine has got under its belt right now is absolutely prime for a game just like this to really showcase everything the Unreal Engine can do. So everything from the intricate weather systems, impressive state-of-the-art procedural world generation, which we saw at one of their most recent Unreal Engine expos, the physics, the AI, the micro to macro detail that you can get, because obviously you're a god, so you can zoom right in to literally head height to all the way out to the heavens. Animations, lighting. Unreal Engine harnesses everything that this game would need to be propelled to the next level gaming heights. So I can imagine islands crafted using the procedural world generation tools where you only need to give the engine some reference material to work from and it will expertly craft incredible worlds, allowing for endless possibilities. So I could really see like longevity that way. The weather system would just be insane and enable you as a god to harness nature's elements to its full potential. So imagine you can conjure terrible storms and tornadoes which could rip through villages, or rise the tides and bring forth a tsunami to wash away your foes, or nice hot summer days to help your crops grow and maybe causing fires that spread if you get too carried away. Then bring on the rain, which might flood regions off the map if they last too long. The weather system would be like but it could be like a standout feature, something they definitely advertise on the box.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in-depth animation and rigging tools that Unreal Engine's got, which would be perfect for the creatures. These huge animals with a full suite of state-of-the-art animations, allowing them to grow and form into the peace-loving pacifists, if you praise them to be that way, or hulking war machines, altering their appearance in realistic and believable ways. Could war wounds heal over time and scar? The Unreal Engine can definitely handle that. The game is already equipped with some impressive modeling, though, so your creature will, like currently, if you were to play the game like the 2005 version, if you are a evil god, your creature will visibly be more evil, growing claws and looking a bit more gruff and definitely more sort of war-torn. But this could definitely be expanded upon. The physics could be elevated to new heights. Again, this game's got loads of amazing physics. So currently, if a boulder does come crashing down a mountain, which they will do, and you may have to use your godly powers to prevent it, it will currently break off into smaller pieces and crash through and leave a hole in buildings precisely where it hit.
Cool.
But I could imagine if you were to use the Unreal Engine, you could get world deformation involved. Like, imagine summoning comets from the heavens and leaving craters in their wake. I've got one more point about why the Unreal Engine would be great, just like the lighting. Imagine you've made your quaint little village and it's all lit by torches and you've got that lumen lighting engine and it's like basically RTX lighting when it's all bouncing off the walls, glowing from a distance. And
I want to play it. Are you making me want to play this game?
The Unreal Engine would be bloody perfect for this game to showcase all the whole array of technology. Like something I didn't write, so I didn't fully understand it. But when the Unreal Engine did the Matrix demonstration, they used one of their new breakthroughs in technology where the population of the city was like is controlled by this, like, it's almost like a hive mind, if you like, but it won't appear like that to you as the player. But it means that all the AI kind of talk. So imagine if someone gets scared and they scream, that will cause a circle around that area to get alerted, and then gets expanded and expanded. And I can imagine just your villagers being controlled by this clever AI. But I'll conclude, this is an incredible game, even by today's standards. Absolutely. Yeah. If it were to be made on the Unreal Engine, it wouldn't be a game that everyone would go and rush out and buy. It would be a game that you'd play and experience all of the brand new tech of Unreal Engine. It would be a perfect...
Okay. It'd be like a real showcase sort of game.
It would be a showcase game, yeah, entirely.
Wow.
I've got 2 questions.
Go on, mate.
So it's an RTS, isn't it?
Yeah, real-time strategy, yeah.
Is there anything out now that you could compare it for people to...
Good question.
No, not everyone knows
question.
RTS games.
So I'd actually say no, not to try and make this game seem more unique and special than it is.
That's fair enough.
But because of the way that you interact with the world. So imagine pretty much every real-time strategy game, you interact with the world just with your cursor. That doesn't exist in that in that world. You're pressing your UI. You're like holding and clicking a big box around your units and right-clicking for them to move. Whereas in this game, your only interaction with the world is your hand. You have got some UI, so you can select what building.
It is literally the hand of God.
The hand is in the world. If you hold your hand, it's in the world. If you were to float your hand around the village, people will gasp and whoop in wonder and awe as they see your godly hand. Yeah. So if you were to pull grain from out of the ground and help your villagers
out. They'd be like, what the fuck you doing with my grain?
Yeah. They're like, nah, they're all like standing there in awe. So the way you interact with the world is entirely different from any other RTS that I've ever played anyway.
Joe, that's such a cool thing actually, because when you think about, I mean, like we all love like Civ, for example. Civilization is a fantastic game that we've played together many times. But, I've never played like a strategy game that's had like that actual sort of interactive, like
exactly.
You are God looking over this town or this village or whatever, and they're reacting to you and the things that you do.
It's exactly that.
That's really cool. That's a really cool sort of aspect that will really change up those games, I think.
I've got a question. Are there any features or elements that you'd like to add from like that are different to Black and White 2?
Yeah. Apart from some of the weather systems that I've mentioned where it will flood, but I can imagine I'd want to add more like mystical and mythical beasts and stuff. Like the game is obviously there's gods and there's creatures and there's miracles and
so why not have more?
Summon. Yeah, so there's also ghosts and stuff, but why not have like more mythical creatures and more mythical beasts that do inhabit the fables of godly fables, you know what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'd maybe add.
You could do expansions with it, Norse expansions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the game does have quite a few factions already. So you mentioned Norse, but the game has Norse, which is like a foe that you might fight against. It's got the Japanese and the Aztecs and the another Greek faction, and I think there's more that I've forgotten about. So all of the great civilizations,
factions,
that have their own
civilization.
Yeah, so you will fight against the Norse or ally up with them and convince them to join you because your place is so full of peace and prosperity. They don't want to fight you; they just want to join you. So,
have you got a developer in mind? Like, is there one that stands out? You go, they could do this.
I don't know. I mean,
or would you? Would you lead it, Ben? Would you head the studio?
I'd be Peter Molyneux,
president of Ben Edwards Studio.
Yeah. So I tell you what, I know Lionhead Studios are no longer with us, but
my boy Molyneux,
you're going to round up the old team.
Yeah, I would 100% do that. Yeah, because
we're making a game.
What was that documentary? The guy who makes the gaming focused documentaries.
No Clip.
No Clip.
Danny O'Dwyer.
Danny O'Dwyer. So he did an amazing, like literally 2-3 months ago, documentary on Black and White 1, but he kind of encompassed 1 and 2. But Peter Molyneux and, who's the main guy's name again? Sorry? the documentary dude?
Danny O'Dwyer.
Danny O'Dwyer. He said at the end of the documentary that the team that they had on Black and White 1 was some of the most talented game developers of the time, and all of those developers are now heads and like very higher ups and everything you can imagine in the game industry and in the world of AI. Like, I think the guy who created the creature AI in Black and White now works at like one of the world's most revered, is revered the right word? Yeah, one of the world's most like highly technical AI developing companies out there, and he worked on the Black and White fucking AI. So, and
Fair play to him.
yeah, there's no
I
chance.
doubt he'll leave his
It's
job
like-
to come work with you, you bum.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. It's like Mind something. I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah.
if I could get Lionhead back, the whole team back, then I would. If I had to choose a developer that's with us today, I didn't think about that question,
Oh, fucking here we go. We're going to be here all night now.
Mr. Indecisive.
I picked
Yeah.
two.
Let's pick all of them. They can all work on it together.
Yeah.
Get everyone involved. Yeah, not sure.
Okay, well, maybe you can think about that and you can
We'll
let
come
us
back
know
to
at
that,
the
yeah.
end of the show. Well, yeah, that's all we've got time for this week. So cheers for that, Ben. See you later.
Yeah, sorry, mate. But, you know, the Ben show now.
No, it's good.
But,
It's good,
um,
that you're,
reading
it's
the
good to
first
see.
Lord of
Yeah, it's
the
good to see you
Rings.
really passionate about a game because like,
Yeah.
it's nothing we have more than a bit of passion.
Yeah,
So
you know.
sorry to cut you off there, but should we
No,
move on to the next
please,
game?
move on.
Who wants to go next then? Charlie, do you want to go next?
Yep, can do.
Do it.
So I think I've spoken about this game previously.
Okay.
It might have been in our prologue episode. But it's a game that's quite dear to me. Lots of fond memories from when I was growing up. So this game is called Golden Axe. Well, the franchise Golden Axe. So I'll give you a bit of a brief history on it. So it's a side-scrolling co-op beat 'em up / sort of hack and slash game that was released by Sega initially for the arcade machines, sort of back in 1989. So it's quite an old
Awesome.
franchise. It's set in a medieval fantasy world where the land's been taken over by an evil, mysterious man. Which, I'll tell you his name later. So basically, you're tasked with defeating this villain's armies and recovering the legendary Golden Axe.
Oh, I love it.
Ooh.
Bit of mystery. But yeah, essentially, there's in the original, there's 3 playable characters. There's a dwarf, a barbarian, and an Amazonian. Have each got their own grievances with this evil person.
Has he done them wrong?
Sorry?
Has he done them wrong?
He has done them all dirty. So there's a lot of bad blood there. Each character has different main weapon, and they've also got access to magic as well. And one of the big sort of mechanics of the game was the fact that you could get beasts, which you could ride and use to help you defeat the enemies. So they're pretty
Wicked.
cool, and they will be making a return in my new game.
Of course.
So what's the vision for this
So,
game? What's the next gen pitch for Golden Axe?
right, what I would like to see in this reboot is I'm taking it. It's no longer side scrolling.
Okay.
It's all going to be 3D open world. There has been one game that was 3D, but the less said about that, the better. I think.
We don't talk about that.
Doesn't
We don't mention
exist.
that.
I
Sacrilege.
actually really liked that game, but no one else did. So yeah. So what I'm envisioning is a huge open world co-op RPG game that will have survival elements as well.
I like it.
I want huge emphasis on like exploration and a really rich story-driven sort of
Experience.
quest-based gameplay that fits with the lore of the original games. So you're still trying to. Oh, I never mentioned the evil guy's name. His name is Death Adder. Pretty cool name.
Sounds like a Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
fire.
Is he a snake?
But yeah, you're still trying to take down him and his minions. But I think in order to do so, you need to do some leveling up and hone your skills. I'm kind of envisioning along the way, you've got to learn how to use spells, discover all these new abilities, all these new weapons. I want, rather than, I found a sword, you've got to forge these. You've got to go and mine the ore.
Oh yeah.
You've got to, I want to encompass quite a lot of different games and elements I like from those games.
Like resource
in this
gathering,
one.
survival.
It almost sounds like a combination of like Conan, Ark Survival, whatever it's called, the dinosaur one, and The Witcher. Yeah,
Vin Diesel game.
But
I'm
like,
sold.
I want other things as well, though. Like,
Okay,
Red Dead
it could
2.
be an MMO.
Red Dead 2 is in my mind. Like, the stunning landscapes.
right. Okay,
But you're not just focused on the story. You want to go explore and see the vistas and go fishing, hunting, all of that. I've got like Monster Hunter in my head as well. Like,
Oh yeah,
I reckon to
wicked.
craft certain armors and things like that, you need to hunt and track these beasts. Obviously, as I've said just before, like to forge the metals, you need to go and mine the ores and process them. But yeah, from
Yeah,
and
sounds
how
great.
do you build are you building an army to take on Death Adder? Are you like
get some
liberating villages? Are you going around
Shadow
and,
of
like
Mordor
recruiting
in there.
people? Yeah, Shadow of Mordor. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I've not actually thought about that. That is a good idea. You could do that.
Right.
But in my head, it's I think you can play through this completely fine on your own if you want to do that. But
Every
I
game
think
needs that.
to also be able to have your friends drop in or like come give you a hand, or you can play through it all together. I think that's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
And like I think
very nice.
So do you kind of want like a seamless sort of drop in, drop out co-op aspect to it as well?
Yeah.
Because the one thing I don't like about some sort of like co-op games is how restrictive they can be. So a recent example of this I'll mention because it is quite relevant. So Redfall, as we know, is a co-op game, but the co-op progress only saves to the persons whose lobby you join.
Yeah, I don't like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Why is
I
that?
think it should be
thing?
optional. It should be optional.
Yeah. Why is that?
Are
a
we
thing?
always going to play this game together? Okay, save progress to you. And then am I just joining you to help, but then I want to progress at my own pace?
Yeah.
Then it's
Sons of the
optional.
Forest is the same,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
But obviously you're having none of that business in this game.
Nah,
It's seamless
Fuck that
co-op.
malarkey.
Drop in,
That's
drop
it.
out. Your progress is saved.
Everyone's
to
getting
your
their
system.
XP. Everyone's getting the resources. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'd keep the original characters, but as classes almost.
Okay.
So you'd make
Yeah,
your own
yeah.
character completely customizable from either dwarven or Amazonian or barbarian. Yeah, and I've got also. I'm thinking Unreal Engine 5, just
Yeah, it's
because
gotta be.
it needs that gorgeous look, all those
Yeah.
assets.
That
I think.
photorealism.
That's what I really want.
Have you Charlie, have you seen the trailer for a game called Crimson Desert?
I have not.
Because this
no.
game springs to mind instantly.
they
So
ripping
after the
off my
show,
ideas?
go and obviously it's very different, but graphically it's exactly what I'm thinking of. It's set in kind of like a medieval fantasy world, and it has it has like a wide range of kind of landscapes like snowy mountains and forests and desert and stuff, and the vistas just look incredible, and it's kind of what I pictured straight away when you started talking about how you'd pitch this next gen sort of version of Golden Axe.
Oh, that sounds really good. I'll definitely check that out. Maybe
Yeah.
they could be the studio that do it.
Well, maybe. I mean,
Who knows?
they had quite a bit of success with their previous game called Black Desert, which was an MMO, I think.
Yeah, it was.
And Crimson Desert is coming at some point.
Is that a solo experience or is that a MMO
I'm
as well?
not actually sure.
Okay.
I know from the trailer they've got a lot of kind of story elements to it. Anyway, we're going off track. Back to your game, Charlie.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of my vision for it.
Wicked.
Yeah, I've not got too much. Other
And
than
this is a next gen exclusive. You know, we're not going back to the
no, I'm not
PS4
wasting
and
time.
previous
It's
gen.
not coming out
PC
Xbox
Switch
One
only.
either.
exclusive. Xbox One exclusive.
Whoever's the highest bidder, Connor,
Yeah. They'll all come knocking.
and it's going to be
Big
titled
promos.
Golden Axe: Land on Fire.
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
Wicked. I want to play it. Thank you for that, Charlie. That was a really good pitch there.
Thank you.
We've had a couple of fantasy games, so actually I'll go next because I'll switch it up a little bit with my choice of game. So the game I'd like to reboot, and I've got a very sort of like practical purpose for choosing this game actually, is the 2006 first-person shooter Black, developed by
Ooh.
Criterion Games and published by EA. It was released for the
memories.
PlayStation 2, and Xbox in February 2006, the player assumes control of Jack Keller, a Black Ops agent being interrogated about a previous mission involving a terrorist operation. And I have got such fond memories of playing this game, and it was the first kind of game that I sort of, I mean, 2006 seems like quite late. I mean, I was born like early 90s, so 2006 seems quite late in my sort of gaming life, but for me it was the first game that really stood out from like a cinematic kind of perspective. They had a lot of like live action cutscenes in this game. The game was like really sort of praised for its sound design and the sound of its weapons. It used sounds from like iconic movies such as Bruce Willis's MP5 in Die Hard, Jack Bauer's pistol in 24. So you had these like big sort of Hollywood kind of like sound effects. It was praised for like the great amount of detail in the game. The animations, I specifically remember, and I'm sure this isn't the case, but I feel like Black was the first game that I played that when I reloaded the gun, it didn't just go down then up again and the magazine was full. He actually took the magazine out, sort of like unloaded the sort of like empty shell and did everything. It was completely animated. And I remember playing that game with my brother and thinking, fucking hell, this is so good.
I played with my brother too.
Yeah, this is the future. This is future gaming.
Yeah, and I remember the gunplay feeling so good, so like crisp and modern. And
it felt like it was really ahead of its time, and you know, the destructible environments were in the game, had a sort of really sort of cinematic depth of field effect to it. It was criticised though for being quite short, which is what I'd like to change about bringing this game. Well, it was criticised actually for two things, being a short sort of like story and also the lack of multiplayer. So my kind of vision for this game, for rebooting it, is, or it would be if PlayStation could somehow get the rights to this game and make it a PlayStation exclusive first-person tentpole franchise for their console. And the reason I'm kind of saying this is because there's all this dispute going on at the moment with like Activision and like them possibly losing Call of Duty, even though I don't actually think they'll lose Call of Duty. One of the questions that's been asked is, well, why don't Sony just make their own first-person shooter? Why don't they revive Killzone or Resistance?
Yeah.
You know,
it's going to be the Call of Duty killer.
This is the answer. You know, this is the Call of Duty killer. And I'm kind of thinking they go the route of like God of War, make like a real sort of like grounded, serious, mature story for the single player campaign, but then introduce a full multiplayer suite. Maybe even a battle royale down the line as well, but have like pure sort of like traditional 6v6 arena multiplayer, same sort of in the vein of COD, and it would just be their franchise, their first-person shooter franchise. Because, I mean, to be honest, like first-person shooter games kind of suck in 2023. There aren't really many good ones out there, particularly in like that military shooter style. Like Call of Duty, I had high hopes for Modern Warfare 2, but that's completely fallen off a cliff for me recently. And then Battlefield, exactly the same thing, released buggy as hell. All these changes with the operators and you know, the sort of going for that hero style shooter, poor decisions. So this would be like a game that I think that if Sony got their hands on it and they were able to make it exclusive for PlayStation, they could do something like really special with it. And you know, they've recently acquired Bungie, so they could get some kind of developers and employees from Bungie to help them with all the network and the infrastructure stuff. I'm sure if they advertised, like people from DICE would want to maybe join and work on this new project. And a full multiplayer suite, a completely reworked cinematic story campaign, PlayStation exclusive, next gen, brand new engine developed for the game, make it feel really sort of like heavy, give the guns a lot of recoil, you know, make it sort of like chunky and sort of satisfying when you shoot.
That.
And I kind of think of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I remember getting out into the open world in Metal Gear Solid 5 and running for the first time, like sprinting and driving a car for the first time and thinking, this feels like fucking real life. This feels incredible. Yeah. That kind of grounded sort of feeling to the game. Get away from the arcadey sort of Call of Duty stuff. Make it sort of, you know, make it so that when you sprint, your gun's shaking all over the place. You can't aim down sight straight away. Yeah. Make it so that when you shoot a sniper rifle, you get proper kick with the gun. The recoil's too much for you to instantly scope down again. Just a real sort of realistic kind of grounded shooter.
when your character moves, like have him like build up momentum, and then when he comes to a stop, like you almost have to slow yourself down, kind of thing. Like you don't just immediately stop when you stop, if you know what I mean.
And I think that this would be a great antidote as well for that Call of Duty fast-paced style sort of game. That I mean, if you want to play like a real sort of polished military first-person shooter in 2023, outside of Call of Duty, there's limited options.
I don't even know what I'd recommend.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you got one?
No.
Oh.
Well, it's not the same category either, but I was going to say like Insurgency, something like that. But...
Yeah, I suppose Insurgency is
a great shout. But I mean, I guess as well, the game's got to be accessible for people too. It can't be too sort of like
that's super
straight,
realistic.
It can't be too. It's got to have like elements of that sort of, you are the main character type.
You are going to sponge bullets, but you're not going to die with one bullet.
But and then I'd have like all the traditional multiplayer game modes in there: team deathmatch, capture the flag.
Would you have it set? Sorry, James.
No,
would you have it set in like the same setting, or would you change it?
I would
slightly?
Completely update the game. I'd completely change everything about the game. I like the kind of idea of the main character. He kind of gets sort of caught up in this like terrorist plot and stuff like that. That's the story of Black. I definitely feel like that could be reworked, but I think that the general sort of story is there, but that could be reworked, like a new setting, not new characters, same character, new settings, fully sort of animated and CGI sort of cutscenes. Like Call of Duty, for example, like playing Modern Warfare 2 campaign. I mean, it was criticised Call of Duty, but I was blown away by that campaign. It was immaculate.
Insane,
So is this going to be a sequel, or is this going to be?
This is going to be a complete reboot.
Oh, okay.
A complete from the ground up reboot.
Nice. And, I can see it. I'm seeing like a Killzone set in like a Battlefield 2042 setting.
I was going to bring up Killzone because you've got Guerrilla Games and Guerrilla Cambridge under the PlayStation banner.
But I think PlayStation could create a new studio for this game. Like how Infinity Ward is just a Call of Duty studio, and 343 is just a Halo studio. Create a brand new studio for to solely develop this game. Take people from Bungie who have expertise in network and live service games. Take people from Guerrilla who worked on Killzone. Poach some devs from DICE. Poach some devs from Infinity Ward.
Oh,
Respawn.
Yeah.
When's it set in your mind?
It's a modern military shooter, so it's not futuristic. It's not set in the past. It's set in present day. So pretty much like Call of Duty. Because my kind of thing, if I was head of this studio, I'd be saying to everyone in this team, we are going for the Call of Duty crown. Like, that's the aim. We're going to dethrone this game. That would be my thing. We're going to do it our way, but we're going to give people a real sort of option that's not forcing them just to play Call of Duty if they want a modern military shooter.
How much is your pay-to-win battle pass?
I would definitely have a battle pass in the game, because I feel like that's just part of the multiplayer experience now, and seasons and stuff. Like, you want your game to have longevity, so it will have seasons, it will have a battle pass, but I'll try not to do the Call of Duty thing where this gun's locked behind a paywall, and if you pay for it, then you'll kill people slightly quicker than the person with that gun that came with the game.
Did you ever play the Killzone campaign?
I've played Killzone. The last Killzone I played was the most recent one on PS4, but I never completed it. I never completed the campaign there. But I loved the game. What I played of it, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Did you ever play? Was it Killzone 2? Was there a Killzone 3? Or am I making that up?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, and then Shadowfall was the fourth.
Did you ever play Killzone 3?
I never played 3. I played 2, but I didn't play 3.
So 3 kind of encompasses most of what you've said. Obviously, going back a few years now, I'm not sure when Killzone 3 came out, but it was like your character was slow and heavy. The gun was heavy. The cinematics were insane. Like, they were all like in-game cinematics, so it wasn't like cutscenes and stuff. Like, you're almost in the cutscene. But like when a bomb would land and you'd get dirt all up in your face, and it was so smoky and super immersive and dark, and like absolutely, like if you were getting bombarded, it was the most shell-shocking experience to watch, let alone play.
Yeah,
I'm kind of getting those vibes. It was really
that's what I want.
Gritty.
I want something that's not as arcadey as Call of Duty, because I feel like Call of Duty, it alienates a large audience, and it alienated me as a player, because like we've talked about Call of Duty, and we all enjoyed the game for a period when it came out. But Activision just does what Activision does, and they have to sort of like just
chase that money,
chase the money, litter the game with bullshit that you don't want to sort of see, but it is what it is.
We need more King Kong crossovers.
Yeah, so the game would be PlayStation 5 exclusive, and it would also be available on PC.
Amazing.
With crossplay enabled.
Ooh,
love that. Hyped.
Very
When's
cool.
it coming out?
2024.
next week.
Mighty calendars. Working on it now.
Perfect. And that
Yeah.
leaves us with Connor.
Okay, so this franchise has been non-existent for a decade. Ubisoft keep teasing remakes, reboots. Apparently there was one in the works until last October. David Grivell, the director of the game, left Ubisoft. So that means it's been 10 years since a Splinter Cell game has hit our shelves. So
I love
fuck
Splinter Cell.
Ubisoft. Ubisoft are out the door. See you later.
You bought the rights.
We're
All
buying the
rights, and
franchise.
I've given the rights to IO Interactive, people in charge of Hitman. So IO have just expanded in the 2 years. They've got a studio in Copenhagen and Malmo. They've now got one in Barcelona, and they've got one in Istanbul,
Wicked.
which we posted about on our Instagram, which is at Checkpoint Radio.
Shameless plug.
Shameless
Follow
little
us.
plug. And they liked it. Why didn't they follow us? I don't know.
They will one day.
So they've expanded. They're pretty much done with Hitman now. They've just brought out the World of Assassinations update, so that's out the door. They're continually updating it, and that's one of the reasons why I want IO in charge of Splinter Cell, because of the constant updates. They've got a James Bond game in the works, and also an online fantasy IP, Project Fantasy, which we don't know about. So they've got 4 studios now. They've got the capability. Once James Bond's out the door, they'll be working on this online game. There's room for another game to be worked on. So I think Splinter Cell is perfect for that. And the main reason I want IO to take charge of it is the sandbox sort of mode. They create these wonderful levels.
Yeah.
There is a story involved. But these big levels, you can go in, you can do the mission how you want the mission to be done. You can go in silent, you can go in all guns blazing if you wish. So you can have a story. The story I would have would be Sam Fisher's. The tutorial would be similar to Hitman 1. It would be Sam Fisher's training, whereas Agent 47 got trained in Hitman. And then it would be his story working for the CIA all the way up until he gets taken over into third echelon with a promotion, which was the basis of multiple games. So yeah, the large maps, countless ways to complete them. Just give the player Sam Fisher and his countless amount of tools and equipment, see how they do it. I'd add the contracts mode, which is in Hitman as well. So you've done with the game, you've done it a few times, and you go, oh, Charlie's just done a contract. I've got to go and get this NPC out of here in this time frame, out of this exit, wearing this outfit, whatever it is. It just continues to add to the story. And then also what I have done with Hitman is they've added a freelancer mode, which is a roguelike sort of mode. And I think that would be perfect for Splinter. So you do extractions, or you can go and assassinate targets. You can maybe do it cooperatively, send in you and a friend, go in, you've got to take this guy here, and the loot you obtain, you take it back with you. If you lose it, similar to Tarkov, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just continually add to the game. And I think that's what Splinter Cell is in need of. Just constant updates. Here's new maps, here's new levels. There's a story if you wish. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Connor. I like that Tarkov style sort of aspect of the game. I think would be really cool. I feel like because like obviously I've mentioned this as well in the game I just talked about, but I feel like a lot of developers like they want to hold the hand of the player too much, you know, and that takes away a lot of the experience of these games. I feel like if you just let the player explore and work things out for themselves and get punished for doing things wrong, like they soon learn how to play the game rather than having tutorial after tutorial after tutorial, text box, do this, do that, do this, come up.
You need to live with your consequences as well. Like, if you execute a plan and it goes wrong, so many people just like restart and I'll go again. Like, you need to be able to like live with your consequences.
Yeah,
and
you
if
need
you
to
are on a
think of
stealth
that backup
mission,
plan.
and not just restart because you messed it up.
And what I like about the Hitman games is there's a ranking system. So if you go in there and you do everything perfectly, you scout out certain guard routes. You go in, you execute the guy properly, you go out, you get 5 stars. Stealth assassin. If it goes tits up, you get 1 star, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got to do that again. I can't just go through that.
There's a part of me though. This is just me. Like I completely. I feel like that ranking system's fine, but when I play Hitman and I see like I didn't do it with an S tier, I'm like, well, I did it as best I fucking could. Stop judging me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like that you mentioned co-op because I think that's a really good aspect to have in a Splinter Cell game. I remember
that changes
playing
things,
one
isn't it?
with
It's
them.
interesting.
yeah, we did it, didn't we, Jen?
Yeah. That was...
Yeah, the Splinter Cells. I've played a couple with online co-op, and I can't. And then I think they did it within Double Agent as well.
Mm.
Can't remember the one. Was it Conviction? I think it might have been Conviction. You had online co-op and you had to go in
Because
and do missions together.
some of the best missions in Modern Warfare 2 were the stealthy missions, like the House Breach one, the London one, and that was in Modern Warfare, but then in Modern Warfare 2 they really brought a few more of those missions along.
Yeah, a lot of the
imagine
missions were
what-
stealth based, didn't they, in that game? They were really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Mm.
There's nothing really out there stealth.
No, they were like
not on this level anyway.
yeah.
You got Hitman, and then we had Metal Gear Solid, but I don't think we're going to see another Metal Gear Solid game for a very long time. So what else is there? Bring
That's
Splinter
it.
Cell back.
And even though Hitman's great, it does sort of teeter on the edge of arcadey in a way.
Yeah.
It's very arcadey at times.
Yeah, I think people accept that though. It is what it is. It's a fun
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
great game.
You can still and you can still play it the most intense Hitman, stick all the assistances and help and everything off and live with the consequences.
Or you can kill a guy with an exploding rubber duck.
Yeah, or throw a C4 on someone's face and then just run away and everyone's forgotten about
dump
it.
someone in a wood chopper.
Yeah.
Or throw the briefcase.
Yeah.
You see that clip?
Yeah, it flies around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds really
Yeah,
cool,
awesome,
Connor.
Connor. Thanks for that. Anything else to add before we wrap up this section?
No, I'd bring back Michael Ironside to voice Sam Fisher as well. You've got to get that gravitas
nice.
back.
Well, Ubisoft were supposedly working on a.
They've been working on it for
well, I was
years.
going to say a Splinter Cell film. So a Splinter Cell movie
there's,
starring Tom Hardy was at one point a thing.
They've got an anime in the works, I know that.
Okay, interesting.
Which is
So
weird.
2024, we can look forward to Black and White 2.
Yeah.
Well, Black and White. We can look forward to
Yeah,
Golden
yeah.
Axe, Land on Fire, Splinter Cell, and Black. I can't wait. It's going to be a great year for gaming.
Wait, if these were coming out, I'd be super hyped.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think I
I'd buy
thought of
all
a
them.
developer as well.
Okay.
So where the game would be a showcase of Unreal Engine, it'd have to be Unreal, right? Like
Epic Games,
they'd have
you
to
mean?
make it. Epic Games, yeah, my bad.
Epic Games. They just make
All they
money
do is
now,
make
mate.
Fortnite. They don't do anything else.
And do anime crossover skins on Fortnite.
It'd be
But just
cool.
on
Though.
the
Like, I
Titans-
get the kind of idea you're saying. If this is supposed to be like, imagine it's like a big sort of tech demo,
Yeah,
but it's our game
that's
as
what I'm-
well. You know,
Mm.
this is what you can do with Unreal Engine 5
Yeah.
if you're as good at it as we are.
Nah, Epic are done with games. Same with Valve. They just got too much money now and they don't care.
Well, that was fun, boys. I enjoyed fantasizing about our fantasy franchise reboots. You know, it's always good to sort of like think about things that will probably never be, but nevertheless, here we
Yeah.
are. But before we sign off, we've got some major releases to look forward to. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which we spoke about earlier on in the show, is due out on the 28th of April. Xbox's Redfall, which is getting a bit of stick at the moment due to the 30 FPS cap, is due on the 2nd of May. Very much looking forward to both of those games. And obviously, later on in May, we've got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So anyone going to be picking up any of these games, or what are we thinking? And I'm quite looking forward to Redfall, actually.
Yeah, I think when it's coming to the Game Pass, it's going to be hard not to play it really and see if it deserved that kind of scathing review that it got from the IGN players who did play it. But I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be good, and it'll be nice for all of us to play together.
I think Xbox Arcane and Bethesda have maybe learned a lesson there. Don't let IGN play your games and show it first,
Yeah.
because none of the people who work there know how to play a game.
No,
That's
or at
evident
least make
from
it
that
look
gameplay.
good.
Send it to Checkpoint Radio instead, and
Yeah, send it our way and we do it justice.
I'm interested for Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
But I think I will
Yeah,
play
That'd be my pick.
through the first one before picking
Yeah,
that
definitely.
up.
It continues
I think it's
directly on
necessary.
from. I think it's
Mm.
necessary to be in the loop with the story.
Mm.
Connor?
But yeah, definitely Jedi.
Yes, Star Wars would be my pick. I'm obviously going to play Redfall through Game Pass,
Awesome.
but I think there's issues with that game. with Genovo in it and stuff like that. But we'll see. Hopefully it's good. I think Xbox needs a W at the moment.
Yeah.
On the game front, that is. Like, Game Pass is doing fantastically, but like first party sort of game they need.
Yeah. How about you, James? Obviously Zelda.
Yeah, but I think Redfall is. I don't know why I'm just interested in it. I want to kind of play it for myself and see what it's all about, because you're hearing a lot of mixed things about the game at the moment.
I trust Arcane.
Yeah, I fully trust Arcane, and obviously, not to be sort of a
studio.
PC elitist snob, but I couldn't give a fuck about the 30 FPS cap because I won't be playing it on console. I'll be playing it on PC.
It's true.
Until it's 30 frames on PC.
Oh,
then,
no, imagine.
then it's going to
Mate,
be
outrage.
That's criminal. It would never happen.
Right, well, just before we go, I've got another little trivia piece for you boys. So,
Cool.
Here we go. What was the best-selling video game console of all time?
PlayStation 2.
Oh, it's got to be like a Nintendo console.
Yeah, I'm going with
surely.
NES.
Okay. James?
I don't know.
Any specifics?
I'm gonna go Nintendo 64. Fuck it. It's my most favourite console of all time.
Well, you are absolutely right, Connor. It was, of course, the PlayStation 2, clocking in at 159 million units sold worldwide.
Jesus.
They were
Blimey.
selling more PS2s when the PS3 launched over in like Asia.
Really?
Can't
Yeah,
sell them fast enough.
yeah, they were still making PS2 games up until like the PS4 came out.
Oh my
It's the
god.
golden era of gaming, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Loved my PS2.
Cool.
But
Cheers for
anyway.
that, Charlie.
That's all right. You're welcome.
Well, that was episode 5. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can get more content by following the link in the description of this episode. You'll find our social pages, our YouTube, Twitch and Discord, where you can come and hang out with the community. But that's it for now. My name's James.
I'm Ben.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Charlie. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.